What's up, guys? My name is Mark Namara Chuai, and I'm an instructor. I'm a data scientist. I'm a student at Chinhoyi University of Technology, and I'm doing my master's in data analytics. I also work for Stewart Bank as a post technician, but I also dab up as a reconciliation expert in the bank's migration program projects. So let's begin. First of all, I'd like to give credit to Nono Gueye and Chris, who helped me to come up with this content. So let's, as a recap, we'll start with the recap. We remember in my video, in my earlier video, introduction to R11, we discussed about installing packages. So we said you just need to run the command install packages. Then you can install packages or you can import multiple packages. In this case, where I've highlighted there, you see that you're importing multiple cases as a vector. So you can also install, and if there are some dependencies, you can also add that argument to say import with dependencies. So right in my screen there, you can see here, this is an R script which I'm writing, which we can then use to automate or to run command. Like you can save this in in Windows Task Scheduler, and say I want this program to run each and every day at 12 p.m. Let's say you're working for a company, right? So let's proceed. We also discussed in the last video about library, that you want some libraries when you're doing R. These some contributions which are done and they are available for free open source. So the first library that you see there is here. It's optimized when you're working in a project file. Like here, this is a project. You can see where I'm hovering my mouse in the right corner there. This is a project called data manipulation with dplyr. So a project allows you to put your things in one space, right? Then we have got library readr, which we said is very powerful. I discussed this in the previous video as well. We said it's very powerful for importing data. It can be used on many datasets, on types of datasets, RDS, Excel, CSV, SAS, JSON, and many more. Then you've got library dplyr. This is the workhorse that I'm going to teach you about. It was developed by Hadley Wickham. Then you've got library ggplot. We are going to use it for data visualization. So what you normally do is when you import data, you want to import the data and store it in variables. For those who know, I think I'm going to who really want to understand variables, we are going to do a introduction to R like from scratch. But this video is done for people who it's for people who have got some appreciation R, who want to revise, or who have watched my video. So if you haven't done so, you can watch my video, but I'll make another video specifically for introduction and intermediate R, so that you can take things from, but still you can understand there's a lot of things that you can do here. So it's just the same. If I want to load our packages, I'm going to begin here. I've loaded library here, I've loaded library readr, I've loaded library dplyr. You can see in my console, this is called the console. I said this is the script, this is called the console, and here we've got the global environment where our data sets will be loading, and our variables, they will come here where I'm hovering my mouse in the right part. Then here it's showing here that's files where I'm hovering my mouse. So these are the files, and this is the path. It's user desktop, and this is where I am, right? These are my data sets, my CSV files. You're going to see when I import this CSV file simply means that it's a comma separated value. Okay, so I might be fast when I speak. It's because I don't want to make this video very long, so I might speak fast. But you can then, what you can then do is, when you're playing this video on YouTube, you can fast forward, or you can increase the speed, or reduce the speed, so that you can enjoy it, you can listen at your own pace, right? So let's begin here. I've already written my scripts so that we don't waste time trying to do code, live coding. Live coding tends to eat time, and some people complain that my videos were very long because I was doing live coding. But in any case, we will do some live coding when you do machine learning later on next month. So flights, it's like we said in the previous class, that what you need is a path to your dataset. So in this case, you can see that we are saying data raw flights because when you run this code, right, we'll see that you have imported this dataset. It shows in this global environment. To my right, where I move my mouse to the right of the screen, you can see here there's a data set that has been imported. It has got 366,000 observations and 14 columns. If I want to take a quick look at the data, I can click here. Then it will show me the columns that are in the data set. We've got year, month, day, departure time, schedule time, arrival time, schedule time, carrier, flight tail number, among other things. Then we can also see how the variables have loaded, the data types. You can see you've got double, and date time, among other things. So that's how you load a data set. That's how you import a data set. So before you start to do anything, you need to be able to load these data sets. So I told you about the library read CSV, which comes from Reorder. If I type here read, you can see that there are many commands, and these are the sort of files that you can import. So there are many ways of importing a data set, as you have noticed there. I'm going to remove this read. So equally, I'm going to import all these files. Then let me show you another skill. What you can do, you can then add here to say read. Then I could say here. Then because I've added a comma, you can see my mouse is at the left of the screen there. It's shouting unexpected after expression unmatched opening bracket. It's telling me that I need to add an additional bracket. Your bracket should always be the same, right? So I've added here specifically. So yeah, that's what you need to do. I'm going to close this part. If you just click here, it will minimize. So you can see there are now 4 data sets. I'm going to add the last one. There are now 5 data sets, right? So if you wanted to clear your console, you could. If you look here where I move my mouse, there's a broom there which says clear console or Control L. It's a shortcut. We are going to discuss shortcuts very soon, right? Then we now have 5 data sets, and here if you look at the right of the screen, it's like I said, this airports dataset have got 14,000 observations and 8 variables. The flight dataset has got 366,000. The planes has 322, and the weather dataset has got 26,000 observations. So we are going to be working with these tables, right? As a recap, then later on in this course, later on we are going to do an actual course that I have done data manipulation, and I've got my certification. You can see on my, if you visit my LinkedIn, you just go to LinkedIn and search McNamara Chiwaye. You'll be able to see all my certificates that I've done. If you just go to the panel and say see credentials, you'll be able to see. So for those, I know there are people who are interested in certificates. I'll be able to guide you, and you are going to do chapter 1 and chapter 2 in this video for that certificate. So if you do this video, you'll be able to get a certificate in the end, and you need to pay about $20 US. But anyway, if you are not that type of person who wants the certificate, you just want to learn data science, you can just watch this video. It's free. Okay, so we've got data types. So I'm going to highlight here and say data types. If you can see I'm typing data types, right? So these are the most common data types. We have got double for numeric data. Then you have got date time for dates and time. Then you have got character for text data, right? So let's proceed. Basic data exploration. So let's say I wanted to have an appreciation of my data. I can just say n rows. It is showing me here that in the airports data set has got 14,058, which just goes to confirm the fact that we have also observed this. If you look at the global environment where I'm hovering my mouse, right? So if you want to see the columns, you can say ncore. Ncore is a command, right? If you want to see the dimension, let me type here. You can see that I'm typing in my console dim. If I plans, it's going to show me that there are 13,022 3,000 322 observations, right? So these are commands, and what you are seeing here is that you are seeing a command and a data set inside that command, right? Because it's a data set, we don't put the string like we normally do, right? um, then we can also say summary, like each and every statistic or package or program language, they usually have that summary where you can quickly see the summary of your data set. So if I run that command, I'm going to see a summary of the data set. In this case, it was the flights data sets. So we are going to see here, if we scroll up, the year, the minimum year, the first quarter, the median, the mean, the third quarter, and the max, the month as well. You can see the mean was 1, the max was 12. Then the day, you can see that the mean was 1, the max was 31 in terms of days. Then the departure time, you can see that the minimum was 10:17 and the maximum was 4:46. The scheduled arrival departure time, it was quarter past, but the plane actually took off at 17 past. The maximum was 4:59, but it was scheduled to arrive at 4:56, so it was maybe like 3 minutes late. Then the arrival time, you can, so this allows you to just have an understanding quickly of what your data set is all about. You know, the tail type, you can tell you the length, the class character, the mode, and among other things. So this is your distance. You can see the minimum distance for the flight was 17 and the maximum distance per flight was 4,983. Okay, so it's like I said, I'm going to be a bit fast here because we want to cover a lot, and you can always replay this video at your own speed, right? So we've got a command called view, and what view does is it gives us the table. If we type view, we can see the table, right? So I'm just going to run this command. You can see this is the full table. As you can see here, you can actually scroll down and see everything. Then you can also add filters if you want. You can also arrange using these arrows, right? Let's say I want to arrange, it will change, right? Then that's some of the things you can do. If I wanted to see maybe from JF Kennedy only, I could say JFK. Then it's going to filter by and show me the results of my filter. If I wanted to clear the filter, I can just, there's an X that's over there. Then that's the view function when you want to view a dataset. Alternatively, you can go to the left side of to the right side and double click on the dataset, right? So I'm going to double click on plain dataset, and it's a view. You can see here that my console, the command that I've run, my console is this part which is on the left below where I'm hovering my mouse, right? You can see that the command that ran is view, right? Which we can actually do manually. Okay, so let's proceed. Data manipulation with dplyr package. So right, we are now going to begin our analysis. So what you normally want to do in business is that we find that businesses are interested in filtering for observations, right? Like in this case, we are looking at the flights data set, and we wanted to see flights that were leaving from DFW, right? So DFW is it's a destination, and you want to see which flights we're going to. DFW means Dallas in this data set. So we can look at our data set here and say where is the flight we want to filter using this destination column. This is the column that you are going to use for our for filtering, for our case of filtering, right? Okay, so we are saying flights filter destination is equals to DFW, and when you use a filter function, always remember to put your string. These two double quotations, they mean strings in programming, so make sure that you have got your string there. Then equals, we are saying destination is equals. There's a difference between is equals to DFW and equals. What equals means is that it's a logical operator which is supposed to turn true or false, right? So if that is true, then it's applied on that condition is true, then applied on the data set, right? So let's run this command. If we run this command, we are going to have flights that we're going to Dallas. right? So you can see here that we have got a table. The results, we've got 8,000 observations, which makes sense that this flight data set has got 336,000, and those flights that we're going to dial, the fraction, the number was 8,000, right? We have seen that the observations have reduced, but also if we look at do our sanity checks, we see that all the columns are still there. We've got a table where I'm hovering my mouse in my console there. You can see that there are 14 columns, right? So what ARA will do, it will show you maybe 10 variables, then it will show you how many have remained, the remainder. Like if you see here above, there was actually 837. Now there's with 800. If you look below, there's now saying with 8,702 more rows and 9 variables, which is the here it has shown us um 1 2 3 4 5 6 variables. So the difference is what we cannot see because of the size of screen. So if you're using a giant screen, or maybe if I maximize and try to run again that code, you see that I'll see more variables now showing me lot. So it just depends on the size of your screen. Ara will try to fit the size of the screen, and it will tell you how many observations have been left. So the other thing when you're filtering in this question, the next question that you want to do is we want to filter flights that lasted more than 1 hour and 30 minutes. So if you do again, I'm going to write in my console view flights, view flights, right? So this is our flight data set. So we've got this column called airtime, and it's recorded in minutes, right, as you can see. So if you wanted flights that lasted more than 1 hour 30 minutes, it would be 60 plus 30, 90 minutes, right? Sorry. So yeah, what we that's the where the 90 minutes is coming from. And you can see that if you look at the time, we have managed to filter those observations, right? So let's go to the next question. Flights that lasted less than 30 minutes. So again, we are taking flights and the name of the data set. So the logic is just flowing like this. We say filter, then if you say you can look here at the ARA documentation for filter. It says .data, which is the data set. Then you put your arguments. The filter function is used to subset a data frame, retaining all rows that satisfy your condition. To be retained, the rows must produce a value of true for all condition. Note that when the condition evaluates to NA, the row will be dropped, unlike subsetting with base R. Okay. So that's the filter function, right? So we can, these are the flights which lasted more than less than 45 seconds, right? So we see that there are 27,000 flights actually lasted less than 45 minutes, right? Then let's go. We can also do multiple filtering, right, where we can say we are filtering more, we are giving more conditions, and the results is usually that the data set will be smaller, right? We are getting specific. So in this case, we are using the planes data set, and we are saying we want planes with seats, right? So if you go to the planes data set here, right, let's look at our planes data set. It has got a column called seats, and what you want to actually find is we are saying how many planes have got such seats, right? So if you run the code, you see that there were actually 35 planes which had seats that were less than or equals to 10. Then planes with more than 100 seats built by Piper. So again, we are looking at the planes dataset, which is here, and we are looking at the manufacturer. There's a column called manufacturer, and we are looking for that manufacturer. We have been given the specific, so we want to filter and pick out that manufacturer called Piper, right? So that's what we are doing, and the plane should have 100 seats. So if you run this code, you're actually going to see that they were actually 0. So let's do this again. Piper, if we say planes Piper, we see that there was no such plane that had numbers. Piper doesn't manufacture big planes. You can see that the number of seats here for the planes, they were 876. So this just maybe suggests that Piper manufactures luxury planes, right? um, Same here. We also looking at this code. We're saying planes built after 2000 by Boeing with more than 150 seats. So what you needed to do here was to provide the dataset, which is the planes dataset. Then the year is greater than 2000. Then the manufacturer is Boeing, and the seats are 150, right? So you just write that code, and again they are separated by the comma. Then you put the conditions, right? So you could also maybe say, okay, these are the planes. If I wanted to add an additional method, um, you could then add another one, as many as you want, to say maybe um, manufactured by Boeing, and the seats, do you have seats? You don't have seats, so the seats maybe is greater than, right? Boeing usually manufactures big planes, so we would say in this case greater than 50, right? Then run this code. So let's run the first code, right? We see that there were 261, right? So let's run the other one for 56 and above. Okay, it's showing me that there's an error, the object seat not found, which means that I have incorrectly spelled this. But if you do this again, we have 261. So if we increase maybe the seats to say we want only those that have 300 and above, you see that the number of observations is going to reduce. Like there are only 15 planes with that would meet the condition, right? So let's look at another one. We want to all summer flights, that summer is between June and August, that departed from JF Kennedy, that lasted for at least 3 hours. So the first thing that we'll do is we need our filter, then the name of the dataset, which is flights, then the month should be greater than or equals to 6, and then month should be less than or equals to 8. So that's how you do your between, right? Then the origin is equals to JF Kennedy. We are putting a string again because this is a string, and we don't do that with numbers. So we run the code, we get the number of flights. So let's proceed. If we look, all flights except flights that happened in the month of January, right? So this is very interesting. Like whenever you are writing in R and you want to negate, it's called actually negating, right? So we don't want the month, so we can negate the month by using this exclamation mark, which is not. So what that code is saying is, we are saying filter, and we've got a variable called month, but what we want is month not equals to 1, right? So if we do that, we'll be able to negate January. So if we run, we'll see that for our month there, we don't have the month 1. Right? Very, very important. Then of course, if you want to view, but I'm not going to view, you now know this how to view your data set. So let's proceed. Here what I'm doing is called variable assignment, right? After filtering, sometimes you want to store this and maybe export to Excel, or reuse it later, or share with your managers as a report. So what you just need to do is, this is how you create a new table, right, using this assignment operator. So we are saying filter flights month is not equals to 1, and we are saving it, and then we can also view it as well. Let's proceed. Flights operated by UA or AA. So we are going to our flights dataset, and we are looking for the carrier, right? The column that we are looking for is the carrier. So there are different carriers that are there, but we let's say you wanted to in this case you want to filter for only those planes that were manufactured by UAE, right? So if you try to do this code, this doesn't work, right? You cannot have the same column filter the same column again and again. You don't do that. If you try to run this code, it's going to give you 0, but that's not the truth. So what you want to do now is you are now using, remember from the set theory, right? What you're doing is we're now using says to use, we use this command code or, right, or the in operator, which is what you see here, that we are saying filter fly from flights filter carriers is equals to UA, or carrier is equals to AA, or from flights filter carrier in UAA. So what you can do, you can continue to add the pipe operator, or you just create this new vector with compounded with this in functions to pick those variables. If you run, you now see that we now have got values, whereas in the previous code we had 0. Okay, so the in operator, we can see here all summer flights between June and August that departed from JF Kennedy that lasted for 3 hours. You can see here that we have got the flights data set, and we are seeing month in June, July, August, and then the origin is JF Kennedy, and the flights lasted 180 minutes, right? So we can look at the weather data and continue with the flights. So what's the important key takeaway for the filter function? I'm going to stop here for the filter function. It's the in when you want to add more functions, and the pipe operator, the or operator. Then we also have got another functions called and. So for and, you remember when you're using and from the set theory, both conditions need to be true for the and functions to be satisfied. So let's begin. All flights with an altitude not greater than 100. So you remember when you want to negate, and this time we're not using equal. So what we do is we just put the exclamation mark before the before the condition, right, so that it's negated, right? So once you do that, you see that you would have negated flights with an altitude that was less than, that was greater than 100. So remember, you can also chain this method using the in operator, which becomes very, very powerful. And R is good because you then write less code, right? So let's proceed. Calculate the mean or average temperature in the month of January, right? So here what you are going to see is that we are taking the I'm introducing a new function. I'm introducing called the pipe operator. So what the pipe operator does is optimizing for chaining method, right? We're now doing more things instead of just doing one thing. We are doing more things. So we can then say filter the data set. We first we put the data set, which is the weather data. Then we use this one is called the pipe operator, right? And the way you can find this operator is by using the shortcut control plus shift plus control shift plus control shift plus M, right? Plus M, yeah, right, plus M. But I'm going to show you like the most important shortcuts very soon. We'll cover this shortcut, so don't worry. So again, we are saying month is equals to 1. Then we are summarizing by the mean of temperature, right? So summary, we are going to cover summary later on, like more extensively. But for now, we just know that we can actually do more, because my expectation is that after doing this course, you need to see the why R is so important and what you can achieve as a data analyst, right? So if we do the summary, we see that the mean temperature for the month of January was 35. Okay, so let's proceed. I want to introduce another dplyr verb called arrange, right? So what arrange does is that you can oftentimes managers and anyway in data analysis science, you want to arrange things in ascending or descent order. So what we are doing there, we are arranging the planes data, and after we arrange, and then we are creating a variable or a new table which has got arranged data, which is called plain sys, right? So if I do that, I have created the planes. You can see there, if this has been created, plain sys, it has been created, it has got 30,000 observations, right? And this time is the difference for with this one is that it has been arranged, right? You can see that these ones have been arranged. And how have they been arranged? They've been arranged by the plane, right, and the seats, right? So if we look, we should have the column seats, right? So we're saying the we've arranged with the plane with the least number of seats, right? That's how we've arranged this plane data set. So you now know the view command is, if you wanted to view this data, we could just punch in view, like instead of going to the global environment where I'm hovering my mouse right now. So you can also reorder in descending order, as you are going to see here. If we say planar, then another important function is called minus. If I say planes minus seats, what I'm doing there is that I'm removing the seats. I'm saying give me the plane data sets, but remove the seats data set. So if I run that code, this code, you're going to see that what has happened here is that it's not really when I use it arrange with a negative sign, I'm actually saying do the opposite. I'm saying arrange in from the highest to smallest. That's what I'm doing there. So you can, instead of doing minus, I can use descending order, which will do the same. By default the order is ascending, which means that you're starting from smallest to highest, right? Then now we can also reorder by year. If it's like that, it means that it's in ascending order, which means that it will be January, February, March, since this data set was for a single year. Then reorder from newest to oldest, we have covered that already. Then arrange, we have covered that, and we have covered that too. Then I think for the arrange verb, I think we have done quite a lot. Right, let's see if there's something that's worth of mentioning here. Here we are just again we are filtering using multiple conditions. Then after filtering, what we are doing here is we are creating a new table called UAE for flights that we're only going to operated by United Airlines, right? And which they're going to Dallas, right? So if we do that, we see that if we run this code, we have a data set, but this data set is not arranged, right? So if you go there, this is my data set. So if I wanted, I would then arrange this data set by the arrival time, right, to see which maybe arrived early or what happened. Then so you see that if you look at this data set, it will be arranged. Let's so if I wanted to create an arranged data set, I would then have to store this in a variable. So we're going to say that this variable is called I'm going to use the similar name, but I'm going to say maybe arranged, right, so that we can be able to pick it. And then when you want to create this arrow, this is called the assignment. I use out minus, right? That's what you use. You're going to cover this again shortly afterwards, right? So we will then say arrange and run the code. So if you look now, these would have been arranged by the arrival time. If you look closely, you see that the time has been arranged and it's in ascending order. Okay. So we can also chain methods by saying arrange filter flights. We could do this in one go, right? So this would mean that to how the code here, I'm just going to tell you how the code executes. So the code will execute in this order. First, the code will filter flights with this carrier. This will be the first code that will execute. After this code executes, the filtering executes here, right? This code will execute, like I can show you by running this code. You see that this code executes. After the filtering has been done, then the arrange will then happen after the filter, right? So that's how the code operates. So let's look at another one. Which carrier between AAN, the slowest flights departing from JF Kennedy in the month of March? Okay, so if you wanted to do that, again, it's a filter in origin, month, day, 15. You can work on that, and then if you're looking at the slowest, then maybe it was just an issue of arranging in descending order of time, right? So let's proceed. It's filtering again. I think we've covered more. Then let's introduce another one. um, we've got another verb called mutate, which we use to create new columns in a data set, right? So here I'm creating a column called airtime, right? Which I'm going to convert airtime in the flights data set to hours, right? So I'm going to look at the airtime. This is the airtime, and I want to convert it into hours, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to, no, this is not really the airtime. The airtime, let's go to the flights dataset, right? So if you go to the flights dataset, you've got this airtime in minutes, and you want to convert it to hours. So we're going to create a new column here, which has got airtime in hours, right? So how do we do it? You use the verb called mutate, right? So if you just do mutate here, you see that we would have created another column uh, um, with that variable. Since this is not showing, I think what I may do in this case, I'll just try to reduce my screen so that you can be able, or better still, let me just save it into a variable. I'm going to say airtime, right? Then out minus, creating a new variable, right? So if I now I want to view it, so it's like we say that you can use this command view, and I'm going to look at this new data set which has got the airtime, right? So you can see the airtime is now there, and it's now 3.7, right? It's now in hours, it's no longer in minutes, right? So that's how your mutate works. I'm going to delete this and this. Okay, then if I want to remove this from, I can say rm, which is a command for remove. I'm going to say I want to remove this table. So if I run this, you see that this table is now gone, right? So that's how what you do if you want to remove like a table. So let's proceed. Again, we are using the mutate, but this mutate, if you noticed, I actually changed. So mutate can be used to change an existing variable or to create a new one. In this case, I'm using mutate on the flash data set, and I'm creating a new column called ATM hours, which is based on this calculation. Then we can also convert distance to kilometers. I'm using the mutated. I've got a new distance. In this first case, I'm actually replacing and changing an existing variable, and in this other case, what I'm actually doing is I am what creating a new one. So our dataset was coded. If you look in the dataset, you find here that if you go to the dataset, it's hours in miles. So if you want to change it to kilometers, you multiply it by this to get the miles, right? So that's basically it with the mutate function. I mean, you can do a lot of mutations, but again, I'm just trying to show you what you can do quickly. But and it's not live coding, but it's just a persuasion to see to show the managers and the businesses in Africa at large to say, why do we need data science and why do we need retraining? Because I believe that at this point, all companies need to be retrained. All personnel, they need some sort of retraining to be done in terms of the data scientists and data analysts. So let's proceed. We are doing a mutate here, and we are changing this variable to as numeric. This is way too advanced for beginners, but I'm just going to show you the code so that you can have an appreciation to say what was going on. So we had time. So for us to do any computation with time, we first had to convert it to a numeric, so that if it's a numeric, we'll be able to subtract, divide. But as it were, you find that maybe time was not coded as numeric, it was a character. Again, some of the things that we'll cover later. So the other thing that you can do is like in this case, if I say flights dot okay, I have not created this variable. Let's create this one. Then if you say flights for, um, you normally see this in base R, where we are saying we are selecting columns, but what we are doing is we are using the square bracket, and comma is just saying, okay, pick everything, but this is what I want, right? So let's go and have a look at this flights for dataset, so that you have an appreciation of what's going on with that code. For those who are interested, you can then look at it later. This is the airtime made up column which we created, right? So if you wanted to pick it, we are saying, okay, leave everything. That's what the comma is doing, and pick up that one. That's using base R, but it's not really that important, but something that you're supposed to know, right? We are going to use the select very soon function very soon on how you can select columns, right? Then the filter mutate, we have covered this. Okay, so I think now, so this is the pep operator that I was talking about. I've prepared my notes already, so I'm just going to be reading these notes and telling you where it's important so that you can. This is the pep operator, um, and I'm creating a new table called AAA and I'm saying flies pipe, which I'm using to change the method. So if you see that there are many of these things, it means that the logic will be very long, and the conditions will be very long, and the analysis is very powerful when you start to chain more methods like that. Um, so yeah, I think we have covered all this. Let's just proceed to a few shortcuts in R Studio, right? Let me just check how I'm doing on time here. Oh, okay. So my time is moving very fast. Let's proceed. So a few shortcuts in R Studio. So Control plus Enter, it will run the code and move pointer to the next line. Then Out and Enter, it will run the code and leave the pointer on the same line. Then Control plus L, it will clear your console, which is this one. Control L, you can see that I've cleared my control. Then Control Shift C, you can use this to comment and uncomment something, right? So if you comment in code, it means that you be what will actually happen is let me show you an example. So I'm going to say here my name is Mark. So this has nothing to do with data analytics, but I still want this to be part of this. So if I do control shift C, it then comments this so that when the code is running, this will not run. Then we also have got control I for format code, right? Then we have got also control shift R for new sections. Like you can see my code, these are code sections which will allow me to jump to wherever I want in the code. Like you remember your table of contents, this is closed, right? Then you can have got also control 1 move to script, which is to the script here. If I say control 1, then let's do this, control 2, I'm now in my console, control 1, I'm now back in my script. Then you've got control shift the pipe operator, right? So that's it. Then yeah, I think that's it for the shortcuts that you need to know. Let me close this one. Then there's a verb code summarize, which is used for summarizing data when you want to get summary of a data, right? So we can say in the plain data set summarize, and you want the total seats is equals to sum of all seats. You want to get the sum of all seats. And as you can see here in my console, I've got the total seats. Then if I wanted to average temperatures, I could use the mean functions. What this code na.remove equals to true, it means that remove all na values, right? Like missing values, which we normally usually code is not na. So this will go to remove, because if you have got missing values, R will not compute. So I just wanted you to have an appreciation on what will actually happen, because you end up saying, oh, no, it's not working, but no, it's not really. You just need to be cautious of those. So we use summarize again. This time we wanted the maximum of humidity, and we are creating, like I said, summarize is it's a mutating verb, which means that it creates like a new name or new variable, right? So we have got the variable max humidity, and it was 100 in this case. Then we can also have many like 2 or more summaries. So in this case, your summary, and summarize always retains one value, right? So we, in the first case, we are computing this summary. Let me show where I've highlighted my code, right? So we've got these 2 values. The maximum was 90 altitude, and the minimum was minus 54. And then we put the chain operator to say we still want to do more with this code. Then we mutate. Then we say the height maximum is equals to maximum minus mean. Then we do some additional computation so that this analysis becomes very, very powerful, right? So you will then see here that we end up having the maximum altitude, the minimum, then the height as well, and the minimum, right? So some useful summary functions is sum. Then we've got product, which we can use for multiplication. Then we also have got mean, we've got median, we've got var for variance, and sd for standard deviation. Right. Then wow, what did I do here? Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, I think we are done for the first video. This is was an introduction to R. Then in the next video, I'm going to be doing a certification course for this introduction for data manipulation with dplyr introduction course. I'm going to show you the practice that you can do if you want to get a certification session. Okay, thank you guys. I've really enjoyed your company, and bye for now.